The hall was vast, stretching far above the heads of the audience, with walls that shimmered faintly, reflecting the soft glow of suspended lights. At the center, a sleek, black piano stood, gleaming as though polished by invisible hands. The crowd had gathered to witness the legendary pianist, a figure whose talent had been spoken of in hushed, awed tones for years. His fingers had been called magical, his performances flawless. Tonight, however, something unusual was stirring dot among the people waiting. It was a simple woman. She wore plain clothes, nothing that suggested wealth or fame. Her hands were calloused from years of work, yet she carried herself with quiet dignity. Most of the attendees did not notice her at first, and when the renowned pianist entered the hall, she drew no attention at all. He walked onto the stage with the assuredness of someone used to admiration. The audience rose to their feet, clapping and cheering, their eyes fixed entirely on him. The woman remained seated, her gaze steady on the piano, though no one else gave her more than a passing glance. Before starting, the pianist spoke, his voice carrying effortlessly over the hall. "Tonight, you will hear the finest music ever played on this instrument," he declared. A ripple of approval moved through the crowd. Then his eyes, sharp and piercing, scanned the audience. They landed on the simple woman. A smirk curved his lips. "And here," he said, his tone dripping with condescension, "we even have someone who thinks she belongs in a place like this." The words were audible, deliberate. A few people tittered nervously, unsure whether to laugh or to be embarrassed for her. The woman's lips pressed into a line. She did not flinch. She did not speak. Her calmness seemed almost deliberate, as if she were counting on something that others could not yet see. The pianist waved his hand dramatically and sat at the piano, letting his fingers hover over the keys. He began to play. The notes were exquisite, as expected. The melody rose and fell with flawless precision, echoing across the hall, filling every corner with rich, luxurious sound. Many in the audience closed their eyes, surrendering themselves to the beauty of the music, but the woman's gaze did not waver. She watched the pianist carefully, noting the way his fingers moved, the subtle tension in his shoulders, the pride that oozed from his posture. In her mind, she was not intimidated. She was studying. When the performance ended, applause erupted. People clapped enthusiastically, some whistling, others cheering. The pianist stood, took a bow, and then looked directly at her again. His eyes narrowed. "Do you play?" he asked, almost mockingly, as though the question itself were a joke. The hall went quiet. The audience waited. The woman's voice was steady, calm. "I do," she said. There was no hesitation, no tremor, no sign of insecurity. A few in the audience laughed quietly, thinking this must be a jest. The pianist's smirk deepened. "Then come, show us," he said, motioning to the piano as if the instrument itself could reject her. "Show us what a simple woman can do." She rose slowly and walked toward the piano. The hall seemed to hold its breath. Her fingers hovered above the keys, gentle but confident. Then, without a word, she began to play. The first notes were soft, almost tentative, yet there was a clarity and purity to them that immediately caught attention. The melody was different from anything the pianist had played. It was full of emotion, of experience, of struggle, and yet of triumph. It seemed to speak directly to the hearts of those listening, drawing them into a world they had never known. Her music was not just technique. It was vision. It told stories of distant worlds, of people working together to survive and create, of humanity's resilience. Every note was alive, vibrating with an energy that transcended the piano itself. The hall was silent, save for the music and the occasional gasps of astonishment. The renowned pianist watched, his expression shifting from amusement to disbelief. His fingers twitched as if he wanted to join in, to compete. But he realized something undeniable. This woman's music was not about perfection. It was about soul, and it carried a force that technical skill alone could never achieve. When she finished, there was a pause, almost like the world itself was catching its breath. Then the audience erupted into applause, louder and more fervent than any before. People were on their feet, cheering, clapping, some even crying quietly. The energy in the room was electric, almost tangible. The pianist remained seated, staring at the keys. His pride and confidence had been shattered not by complexity, but by truth. This simple woman had revealed something he had never learned in all his years of practice, that music could be more than sound. It could be life itself. She looked at him, her eyes calm and unassuming. "Talent is not always about skill," she said quietly, yet every word resonated throughout the hall. "It is about heart, about what you feel when you create. Anyone can play notes. Not everyone can make them live." For a long moment, the pianist could not speak. The audience, still clapping, turned their attention to him, waiting. Finally, he nodded, a small, almost reluctant smile breaking through his shock. I underestimated you," he admitted. "Your music? It is extraordinary." The woman smiled faintly. She did not gloat, did not boast. Her satisfaction was quiet, the kind that comes from knowing one has honored their own truth. Word of the performance spread quickly. Across the city, across the planet, people spoke of the woman who had faced a renowned master and astonished everyone. She became a symbol, not because she sought fame, but because she reminded humanity of something important, that greatness does not always wear a crown or walk with recognition. Sometimes it is hidden, waiting to be heard, waiting to change hearts. The renowned pianist never forgot that night. In the weeks that followed, he sought her out, not to challenge, but to learn. He asked her about her techniques, her inspirations, the feelings behind her compositions. And she shared them freely, showing him that even the most skilled among humans could still grow, could still be inspired by others. Together, they worked, not as rivals, but as collaborators. Their music began to evolve in ways neither had imagined, blending precision with passion, skill with soul. Audiences marveled at their performances, not just for the notes, but for the story told between them, that of recognition, humility, and the unyielding human spirit. Beyond the performances, her example inspired countless others. People who had believed they were ordinary began to take chances, to explore their own talents, to speak their truths. Communities that had felt disconnected discovered that collaboration, respect, and openness could achieve wonders. In a small studio far from the grand halls, she would sometimes sit alone, playing softly, her music echoing into the quiet night. It was not for an audience, not for fame, but for the joy of creation, for the sheer celebration of life. And somewhere, across the city or the planet, her music reached those who needed it most, reminding them that human potential was limitless, that every ordinary person carried extraordinary strength within. The hall where she had first astonished the world remained a silent witness to that historic night. The piano sat untouched for hours after the event, as if it too were reflecting on what had happened. And though the renowned pianist continued to perform, he always remembered the lesson she had taught, that mastery of the soul was far more powerful than mastery of technique. And so, the woman's life unfolded quietly, but with impact that rippled far beyond her own imagination. She did not seek to dominate stages or claim titles. She sought only to create, to share, and to inspire. And in doing so, she became a beacon of what it meant to be human, resilient, imaginative, capable of awe, and capable of transforming the world with something as simple and as profound as a single melody. Even years later, people would speak of that night in the grand hall, not just of the music, but of the message. The renowned pianist, once untouchable in his arrogance, had learned humility. The audience, once focused solely on fame and prestige, had discovered the depth of human potential. And the simple woman, unnoticed at first, had revealed the extraordinary power of the human spirit. Her reply had astonished everyone. It had not been a word, not even a gesture, but a melody, alive with courage, conviction, and humanity. In that music, people recognized something timeless, that greatness is not given. It is expressed, and it belongs to anyone willing to reach for it. No matter how simple they may seem at first glance, the echo of her music carried on, a reminder of what humans could achieve when they listened to each other, when they believed in the potential hidden within, and when they dared to rise above expectations. It was a story of pride humbled, of hearts awakened, and of a world reminded that even in the most advanced times, the simplest truth remained. Humanity itself was the most astonishing marvel of all.